Well, hey YouTube, it's Petey Two Finger, and I just updated the firmware in my Nux MG-300, and I thought, oh, maybe this would be a good topic to do a video on, because typically when I do a firmware update, it's quick. On the Nux MG-300, it takes over 10 minutes. It takes 10 to 12 minutes, so I can see how that would cause people to start getting antsy, and I've got some advice on it. So number one, the connection is a micro USB-C connection. I forget what it's called. It's this connector, and on mine, I bought mine used. If you move the cable, it will disconnect, and this is not good for firmware updating. What I would recommend you do is set the unit in a place where the cable cannot be manipulated or moved or bumped, and be aware for what you're in for. If you know, hey, this firmware update is going to take 12 minutes, what I do is I'll set it up over here and have the cable in a way where it's not going to interfere with anything. And the other thing I do is I don't run any other apps. Like, I would never do a firmware update if it was raining or lightning. The chance of a brownout would shut my PC off, and that could be bad. It could be. Ideally, when you perform the firmware update, you want to have nothing interrupt the flow of the data. And typically, if it's a 30-second affair, as opposed to 12 minutes, the chances of something happening are going to go up quite a bit. So if you're prepared for it and you know what you're in for, we can take a look. So I went and used my browser to navigate to a download, which is this in this particular case, considering version 3 just came out, and excuse me while I get this set up for you guys. Version 3 just came out, so I downloaded this official this RAR file, firmware Nux MG-300 English version 3.10.13, and then that gets unzipped into this folder, and there is a README, then there's a guide, and basically what I will do is launch the updater. And at this point, once we have double clicked on the updater, which is the Nux device updater, and you'll see this screen, what you have to do at this point, you should have your Nux MG-300 connected to the computer through this MIDI connection, which is this micro connection, and then of course your power supply. And once we have this screen up, the Nux device updater screen is up and running, and we've got our cable connected. The next thing that you need to do, and you have to have that Nux updater running, you'll unplug the power from your unit. You'll depress both of the stop switches, the chrome switches to activate patch up and down. Press both of those and then replug this in. And then you should get a ding ding, a connection noise. On my Windows PC I get that. And it'll also have a little orange and green screen that'll say unit is ready for firmware update. And that's what you'll see in the window on the actual Nux. Okay, and then the next thing that we need to do at that point is we will go to select file, and it's going to be this one here. We go ahead and open that up, and the next thing you would do is hit start update here. Okay, now what will happen is right now you see this turquoise line. This line will be over here, and it'll slowly start to move this way until the device is done. And you'll also notice, and I mean, what I mean by slowly is it took like, I think 12 minutes for this update on my setup. I have an i7 chip with like, I don't know, I think I have 24 gigs of RAM. It's not a slow computer. It's USB 2.0. I'm not using a USB 3.0. That may be able to speed it up I would imagine quite a bit, if that's a capability even. But the reason I'm making this video is just basically so you know what you're in for. It's 12 minutes of waiting on this firmware update. And like, I don't move. I sit here and kind of hold my breath whenever I'm doing a firmware update. It's not pleasant. The display on the on the Nux, there's a lime green line at the bottom that will move very slowly. It takes about a minute before that line even makes one tick. There's no percentage, there's no numbers to give you a clue. You just got to be patient and wait it out. And you'll notice if you're racing the lines, it seems like the line on the software goes a little bit faster. It'll move in fewer increments than the line on the Nux display. And when it's full, when you're finished transferring all the data for the firmware update, the line on the Nux has one white square left, which will trick you. You'll think, oh, I can't do anything because it's not finished, and you'll start going, oh, I think I bricked my unit, because there's that one square. But if you go and look at the software end of it, if you go and look at the Nux updater, where is it? Yeah, if you go and look at this thing, this will say at the bottom that the update is finished. And at that point, you can X out of that software. And then, believe it or not, what you do is you pull the power plug on it. I know this sounds crazy. And then you repower it, and it'll boot up, and it'll say version 3.10.10. Now, going all the way back to the beginning, of course, really what you're supposed to do is back up your patches in the first place. And that's using the Nux QuickTone software. So you'll go into QuickTone. Do you need to see the shortcut to believe me? Here's the QuickTone shortcut. And I don't have this connected right now. But basically, what you want to do is back up your patches. Up on the top, there's a little set of icons. And that first one, on the all the icons on the right, that first one, you'll click on that. It looks like a C with an arrow pointing to the right, and you'll select all to select all the patches, and then just save it. It asks you like what folder, and that will back up your patches. That way, if when you do the firmware update, it'll install just a bunch of stock patches, and hey, where's my work? Although I gotta say, on this particular update, all my patches were there when I got done. When it came up that after waiting for 12 minutes and I rebooted it, all my patches are there. And I went and checked. I actually made a patch with the new Stageman, I think it, and the acoustic guitar impulse response. And the other feature that's new on this update, which I'm excited about, is individual volume levels per patch. So yeah, Obviously, besides the fact that it said version 3.10, and before I did the update, it said version 2. The new amp model, the new IR for the acoustic sim, and the volume per patch was there. So that's just a little bit of information for you people who are out there and you're nervous about doing the firmware update on your Nux MG-300. You need to keep in mind, number one, it's a long process. I've never seen a firmware update take anywhere near this long. So, looking at it from a realistic perspective, and maybe I'm incorrect about this, but my Nux MG-300 disconnects constantly because of the shitty connector they use. It's a micro USB. This is not a good connector, and I believe maybe this is the cable that it came with. I got this shorty cable, and I've tried a few different cables, and all of them do the same thing. If you move the unit, it will disconnect. And because of that factor, what I'm recommending that you do is isolate your unit physically. Have the unit on a table with this plugged in, with the cable having plenty of relief. You don't have any reason to get up. I gotta go get another beer, I gotta go pee, I gotta change the baby's diapers. No, none of that. You have this all stashed out of the way, so when you do it, and honestly, my advice to you would be to mouse it and go get out of the room. Just go make a sandwich. If you're let's say you deal heroin, you're going to want to go get your fentanyl and cut your heroin with the fentanyl. Find something to do. If you have a pet, teach it to speak. And then by the time you come back, your your update will be finished. All right, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you like music, you could subscribe here. I do original music. I'm going to be recording an album. I recorded one last year using the Nux MG-300. It's called Semantical Nightmare. The year before that was digitally delayed, a double album. And the year before that was an album called Minor Technical Difficulties. So I love making music. We just did a Pink Floyd tribute on this, which features the MG-300. It's a piece called Return of the Son of Nothing. You could check out the live version of that. And I'll see you around. So make sure that you be nice, hug your pets, and peace.